Welcome to Verdo Studio, a quiet corner of the internet where old things find new magic, and your hands remember how to dream again. Here we don't chase perfection. We celebrate the charm of bottle caps turned into mushrooms, tin cans rising like fairy towers, and a teacup. Yes, a chipped, forgotten teacup, reborn as a world in miniature. In this video, you'll discover 15 whimsical fairy garden ideas, crafted from recycled materials, natural textures, and a pinch of wonder. Each one is more than a project. It's an invitation to slow down, look closely, and let beauty unfold quietly beneath your fingertips. Whether you're nestled in a tiny apartment with potted herbs by the window, or tending a lush backyard beneath the trees, these designs are meant for you. Gentle to make, joyful to build, and lovingly imperfect. We do want to share, openly and clearly, that this content has been thoughtfully composed with the assistance of AI technology to help shape stories, ideas, and instructions in a voice that soothes and inspires. Every scene and suggestion is crafted with care for creators of all ages, all skill levels, and all walks of life. If this kind of quiet, imaginative beauty speaks to you, we invite you to subscribe to Verdo Studio. There's more waiting just around the bend, more whispers in the leaves, more joy in the making. Now let's begin. Step by step, breath by breath, we'll build a fairy garden together. Not every fairy needs to live close to the ground. Some whisper to the trees, swaying gently above the world in their tower homes, where the breeze carries stories and the canopy hums with cicadas. And so, we begin with a humble item found in every kitchen, the empty tin can. Cleaned, stripped of its label, and seen anew, it becomes more than metal. It becomes a fairy's castle in the clouds. You might stack 2 or 3 together, wrapping each in soft jute or painted with earthy tones. A door appears where you paint it. Windows cut carefully with scissors reveal tiny wooden balconies made from popsicle sticks or bark slices. Add ladders of twine, mossy roofs, or tiny stone steps that lead upward like a story unfolding. These towers love height. Place them atop garden poles, hang them from branches, or perch them inside the arms of a tree. Tuck them between leaves, where morning dew beads like glass jewels. Imagine the fairies climbing home by moonlight, their laughter carried on the wind. A touch of moss glued near the base, a pebble pathway winding from your planter's roots. These little additions make the structure feel rooted in its world. And for those soft summer nights, drop a small recycled LED light inside. Let the tower glow with life after sunset. The magic lies in transformation. Waste turned wonder, the forgotten turned home. And when your guests lean in close and ask, "Who lives in there?" Male. Tell them it's someone small with wings made of leaves and a home made of yesterday's can. Your imagination gave it breath. Your hands made it fly. Not every fairy needs to live close to the ground. But what if those mushrooms were born from soda gently above the world in their tower home? There's something quietly joyful about taking those canopy hums with cicadas. And so, we begin with a humble item found and turning them into something charming, the empty even alive in its own small way. Stripped of its bottle cap mushroom is a perfect first spell for any fairy garden. It becomes a fairy with a castle in the clouds. Green, you might stack metallic gold together, press it gently onto a cork or pebble, or painted with earthy even a slender twig. A door appears where you paint a duo. Windows dab carefully with scissors, and the mushroom tiny wooden balconies made from spots with white paint or dots from an old brush. Ladders of build twine, a village, mossy 1, 3, or tiny stone steps. Let them nestle beneath like a story unfold. Peek from behind. These towers love light. Curious little place them atop garden poles. Some of the best mushrooms happen by accident inside the arms of a mismatched bottle cap. Tuck them uneven stem, where splash of unexpected glass jewels. They bring surprise and life to the garden. Climbing home. Children love them. their laughter carried on the wind. And fairies, a touch of moss, you believe they might just make them a pebble pathway winding scatter pebbles to form fairy paths. These little additions make the structure to build stairs winding toward your mushrooms. And for those soft summer nights, you can even make ladders from wire and beads. Drop a small recycled LED light inside. Acorn tops as let the tower glow with life in the quiet of late afternoon. The magic lies in transformation. The garden falls still. Waste turned wonder. You'll glance at those forgotten turns and forget they were ever and when trash. Your guests lean, they've become something else now. Who lives part of a world only you could have made? Tell them it's someone and in that small moment you may feel made of leaves. The slow, gentle magic of transformation. Your imagination gave it breath. Your hands made it fly. What happens to the old teacup with the faded roses and the chip along the rim? The one you almost gave away but didn't. In the world of fairy gardens, such a cup holds far more than tea. It becomes a vessel for imagination, a cradle for a miniature dream. A teacup, after all, is already a home, holds, comforts, and now it can shelter a fairy. Start by layering the base with small pebbles or a pinch of soil. Add moss, fresh if you have it, dried if not. Nestle a small cork house at the center, its roof made from a painted acorn top or bottle cap. Surround it with dried flowers or the tiniest twigs, arranged like a gate or arbor. Some choose to make a swing, 2 twigs, some thread, and glue it gently to the cup's rim. Others build a spiral staircase climbing around the porcelain, as if leading to another world inside. You can add beads that sparkle like dewdrops or crystals that catch the light. Every detail tells a quiet story. Place your teacup fairy hideout on a shaded garden table, or tuck it on a windowsill that catches the morning sun. When visitors spot it, they'll lean closer. Their faces soften. Oh, they'll whisper, "How lovely!" It's perfect for tiny gardens, balconies, or corners of the home where whimsy is welcome. It also makes a heartfelt gift, an entire fairy tale held in the curve of your palm. And when you pass by later, maybe with your own warm cup in hand, you'll feel the comfort again, that something old was made beautiful. That magic, after all, begins with care, and a teacup filled not with tea, but with wonder. Every home begins with a door, and for the fairies it's often round, small, and hidden, tucked into the roots of a tree, the curve of a flower pot, or the base of a stone wall. But what if that door began as something you nearly threw away? A jar lid, once forgotten on a kitchen counter, becomes the perfect portal to a magical world. With a bit of paint, that dull circle transforms. Deep forest green or bright sunflower yellow. Add spirals, vines, or tiny wood grain textures. A button becomes the doorknob. A curled wire makes the handle. Around the edges, glue soft moss or tiny dried flowers. The door begins to whisper, "Someone lives here." Glue your jar lid door to the base of a tree trunk or against a weathered fence. Suddenly, the ordinary becomes enchanted. This isn't just bark, it's the threshold to something unseen. But what is a door without a window? A matching jar lid, or perhaps a bottle cap, becomes the fairy's view to the outside. Paint a frame, draw shutters, and hang a miniature curtain made from lace scraps. Place 2 or 3 windows on a cardboard or wooden fairy house to suggest a life inside, where lanterns glow and tea is poured at dusk. These touches are small but powerful. They tell a story without words, and they invite others, children, neighbors, visitors, to pause and wonder. Who lives there, they ask. And you smile, knowing it could be anyone. A shy forest fairy, a tired gnome, or perhaps just imagination itself. In a world filled with noise, a tiny painted door offers stillness, mystery, and quiet joy. And all you need is a jar lid. There's something comforting about the idea of a little log cabin tucked deep in the woods. Its windows glowing, a soft breeze rustling the trees, and the scent of pine in the air. In a fairy garden, that peace becomes miniature, made lovingly from the simplest of materials. The humble popsicle stick. These sticks, once used for summertime treats, now find new life as fairy lumber. Trim them with scissors or garden shears, and glue them side by side to form sturdy walls. Stack them with care, horizontal layers to mimic rustic log cabins, or even diagonally for a charming twist. A roof can be made from overlapping bark, or more sticks angled like a forest A-frame. A chimney made of twigs leans slightly to one side. Perhaps there's a bead lantern hanging by the doorway. Maybe a patch of moss creeps up one wall like ivy. These details make your cabin feel lived in, as if a fairy has just stepped out to gather herbs or speak with the crickets. Popsicle stick cabins are perfect for shady garden corners or hidden nooks among the plants. Set it on a bed of pebbles. Add a path made of flat stones or buttons. Tuck in a pine cone chair, or a swing strung from twine and toothpicks. Each cabin becomes its own little world. There's no need for perfection here. In fact, the slightly crooked lines and uneven roofs only make the home more endearing. Like any hand-built retreat, the magic is in the charm. In building a cabin from discarded wood and quiet patience, you create more than a home. You create a story, a shelter, a secret. And fairies, they'll find their way to it. No invitation needed. Sometimes, beauty doesn't come from what's perfect, but from what's broken and made meaningful again. Flower pot cracks. You sigh thinking it's ruined. But in the world of fairies, this is just the beginning of something far more magical. A tiered garden home rising from the shards. Begin by gently fitting the broken pieces together in a large planter or base tray. Arrange them to form levels, each one its own miniature terrace. Use potting soil to support and shape the layers. Tuck moss into the cracks like nature's glue, and plant tiny succulents or creeping herbs in pockets of space. Then comes the storytelling. On the bottom tier, a round bottle cap becomes a fairy table with pebble stools. On the middle level, a cardboard cottage peeks out behind a curled shard of pottery, guarded by a twig fence. The top tier might hold a bottle cap mushroom cluster or a watchful pinecone owl. Use smooth pebbles or flat buttons to create winding stairs that spiral up through the broken curves. A wire railing made from a paperclip, a bark bench under a tiny archway. It's in these quiet corners that the magic settles. What makes this planter so captivating is its depth. Every layer tells part of a hidden fairy tale, and every visit reveals something new. From above, it looks like a world unfolding. From the side, it's a sculpture shaped by care, accident, and inspiration. Best of all, it gives second life to what once seemed lost. The broken becomes beautiful, the cracked becomes whole, and in that transformation we are reminded, even shattered things can grow, thrive, and enchant, especially when we plant them with wonder. There's a quiet charm in the woods, where everything whispers and nothing hurries. And tucked beneath the rustle of leaves, there might be a small home waiting to be seen. A cottage made not from stone or wood, but from cardboard and dreams. Cardboard is humble, light, flat, often discarded. But in your hands, it becomes a fairy tale dwelling. Cut, fold, and glue your way into a miniature world. A cereal box becomes the walls. A triangle of packaging forms the roof. Add texture with bark, twigs, and dried moss. Paint windows glowing golden. Place a crooked twig chimney on top. Suddenly it's not just cardboard, it's shelter, it's story. A cardboard fairy home fits perfectly under the base of a tree or beside a shaded flower pot. To blend it into its surroundings, use overlapping bark pieces as roof tiles, or layer pine needles like thatch. Acorn caps become lamps, and buttons become porthole windows. Add a painted sign. Fairies welcome, if you like, or leave it blank, a secret only the curious will notice. Want it to last outdoors? Coat it in Mod Podge or any eco-friendly sealant. That little shine will protect it from dew and sprinkle. Then set it somewhere calm, under a hydrangea's shadow, between ivy vines, or beside a cracked stone path. This cottage may be small, but it carries something profound. It's a reminder that a home is not about walls or wealth, but warmth, whimsy, and care. You didn't buy it, you built it. From scraps, from stillness, from imagination. And in that act, you've created a place where magic pauses, rests, and perhaps, just perhaps, stays a little longer. Dusk, the garden shifts, the breeze slows, shadows stretch, and in one quiet corner, a soft glow flickers on. It's not a street lamp or porch light, but something smaller, gentler. Fairy home waking up. Adding light to your miniature world brings more than visibility. It brings soul. Recycled LEDs, tiny solar string lights, or leftover tea lights can turn a simple house into a magical nighttime story. Perhaps you've built a cardboard cottage or a tin can tower. Hide a battery-powered LED inside and watch the windows glow like warm embers. You can craft tiny lanterns from bottle caps, acorn shells, or glass beads. Wrap copper fairy lights around moss. Let them wind through twig railings or peek from under tiny doors. Even a plastic bottle, cut and frosted with a touch of paint, can become a luminous fairy lamp, casting soft golden circles onto the soil. Tuck one under a fern and the shadows begin to dance. Lighting creates presence. Suddenly, it feels as if someone is home. Someone cooking, reading, dreaming. It adds emotion, a sense of wonder that doesn't need words. And at night, when you step outside and see that little light shining beneath the leaves, you'll pause, maybe linger a little longer in the dark. Use what you have, a leftover string of lights, tiny LED from old decorations. Tape them gently inside your structures or let them spill into garden corners like moonlight trails. Best of all, these lights, like your fairy home, are recycled, saved from the bin and turned into magic. Proof that even the smallest bit of brightness can change how we see the world, especially when it shines through something handmade, with love, imagination, and a soft glow of care. Some fairy homes whisper stories. Others hum with the heartbeat of the forest. When you blend recycled materials with natural textures, bark, moss, acorns, stones, you're not just building a structure. You're inviting the garden itself to help you craft it. You're letting nature co-author your creation. Start with a base. Cardboard, a tin can, even a plastic container. Then gather. Not with haste, but with attention. A walk becomes a treasure hunt. You find pine cones nestled in leaf piles, bark softened by rain, acorn caps that fit perfectly as doorknobs or lantern covers, dried leaves that curl like roof tiles. Cover your recycled walls with overlapping bark pieces to mimic old, weather-worn shingles. Use moss like ivy, creeping across door frames, filling cracks with softness. Pine needles can become a thatched roof or even a tiny broom leaned by the doorway. A flat pebble becomes a doorstep, a curled leaf a hammock, a seed pod a planter. The goal isn't perfection, it's harmony. These homes should look like they've always been there, as if they rose from the soil, not built but grown. Place them among ferns, between roots, or along a shaded garden path. The surroundings will complete the illusion. A guest might not even notice it at first glance, but when they do, they'll lean in slowly, eyes wide, heart quiet. There's something deeply grounding in this type of crafting. You're not just recycling, you're reconnecting with your surroundings, with your senses, with the idea that even the smallest bit of nature can carry deep beauty. And when the wind passes, rustling the moss roof, don't be surprised if it feels like a thank you, as if the forest itself approves. Not all fairies need homes. Some simply appear, standing quietly among the moss, resting on a rock, or perched like a whisper in the crook of a tree. These are the guardians, the wanderers, the sculpted spirits of your garden world. And they are born from what we almost threw away. Take a cork, perhaps one left from a celebration. Add a pine cone for texture, a dried leaf for wings. A piece of wire bends into a spiral crown. A button becomes an eye or a brooch. A broken glass bottle finds new life as a shimmering body. Twigs stretch out like arms or legs. No two fairies are alike. Each carries the soul of the materials that formed it. You don't need perfection here. A sculpture might lean slightly, a wing may droop. That's part of the charm. These are not pristine figurines. They are characters. They carry stories. They look as if they've just stepped out of a secret underworld made of soil and seed. Place your fairy sculptures where the light hits just right, beside a blooming daisy, under a leaf's umbrella, or along a moss-covered rock. Let them watch over your recycled houses, walkways, and lanterns. Or let them stand alone, silent and mysterious, as if they've always been there. This kind of craft teaches stillness. You slow down. You notice the curves of a twig, the texture of a pod, the shimmer in a broken shard. And in the process you connect deeply with the natural world around you. These sculptures may be tiny, but their presence lingers. They remind us that imagination needs no new supplies, only attention, patience, and the quiet faith that beauty can rise from even the most forgotten bits of the earth. When night begins to gather, and the world softens into gold and lavender, the fairy globes begin to glow. They sway gently in the trees, tiny lanterns holding light, moss, and a touch of wonder. These floating worlds are simple to create, yet endlessly enchanting. Begin with a clear container, an old glass jar, a plastic ornament, or a yogurt cup rescued from the recycling bin. Clean it, dry it, then begin layering. Moss forms the floor, a cork or cap becomes the house. Add pebbles, dried blooms, maybe a tiny figure peeking from behind a seed pod. Wrap wire or twine securely around the top to hang. Then drop in a tiny LED light. Not too bright, just enough to suggest a heartbeat. When evening falls and the air begins to cool, your lantern glows like a secret waiting to be told. Hang several from low branches, spaced like stars. Let them move with the breeze. Some people fill theirs with miniature scenes. A table set for two, a swing made from thread, a staircase made from curled leaves. Others keep it simple, moss, light, and stillness. These fairy globes are especially magical at twilight, when the line between real and imagined blurs. They add height and depth to your garden, drawing eyes upward and inviting curiosity. And the best part, they're made from what you already have. Trash turned treasure, plastic made poetic. Each globe a floating whisper that says, "Look closer." The world is full of quiet surprises. So go ahead, let the fairies fly. Give them light, give them sky. Sometimes when walking beneath an old tree, you might catch the feeling that something lives beneath it, deep inside the roots where the earth is dark and still. That's where the tree root fairy chambers begin. Look for a tree with roots that curl up from the soil, forming gentle hollows and pockets. These little cradles are perfect homes for woodland creatures, or at least for the ones you dream into being. Start by brushing away debris. Tuck in moss to form the bedding of the chamber. Use small bits of bark to line the walls, and press pebbles into the soil for texture. This place should feel as if it's always been there. A jar lid becomes a round wooden door. A few twigs tied with string form a rustic gate. Add a cork table, a pine cone stool, or a leaf hammock. And if you dare, nestle a small battery-powered LED under the moss, so it glows from within when the day dims. The magic of a tree root chamber lies in its quiet disguise. Passers-by, it may look like nothing, but to those who lean closer, who listen, who wonder, it becomes a portal, a suggestion that life stirs just out of sight. These chambers are deeply grounding. You're not just decorating, you're collaborating with nature, gently working within what already exists. And the result is seamless enchantment, a place that feels as old as the forest and as personal as your own hands. On rainy days, the chamber glistens. On sunny ones, it invites butterflies. And always, it waits, ready for the moment someone believes. A fairy home not built on the earth, but of it. The forest stirs with morning light, and the fairies are already bustling. Stalls are opening, tiny wares are being arranged. The fairy market has begun. This is where your imagination truly stretches its wings. Begin with the bones of your booth. A popsicle stick frame, perhaps, or a bark slab supported by twig legs. Add an awning from fabric scraps or dried leaves. Corn tops become bowls. Cork slices serve as crates. Fill them with beads, berries, seeds, spices, buttons, cakes, or tiny shells, treasures. Each stall tells a story. One might sell glowing mushrooms crafted from bottle caps. Another displays crystal pendants made from broken jewelry. Maybe there's a tea corner with a bark tray holding thimble cups. Don't forget signs, handwritten on bits of paper or carved into bark. Wishes for trade, petal pastries, moonlight moss, 1 pebble per bundle. Lay out a tiny path in front, pebbles, beads, or flattened moss. Add benches made of twigs, a tiny broom by a doorway, a lantern made from a bead and wire. These details make the market feel alive, and not just pretty, lived in. Place your fairy bazaar in a shaded spot where leaves gently fall. Let sunlight filter through. You'll find yourself returning to it again and again, adjusting a stall, adding a new trinket, watching how the morning light touches it differently each day. This kind of crafting becomes a rhythm, low, observant, joyful. And just maybe, when dusk settles and you pass by your little market, you'll imagine tiny footfalls fading away, and hear, somewhere in the breeze, the rustle of fairy coins and laughter. Because in your garden, the fairy world isn't just imagined, it's open for business. The forest stirs with morning light, and the fairies are already bustling. Stalls are opening, tiny wares are being arranged. The fairy market has begun. This is where your imagination truly stretches its wings. Begin with the bones of your booth. A popsicle stick frame, perhaps, or a bark slab supported by twig legs. Add an awning from fabric scraps or dried leaves. Corn tops become bowls. Cork slices serve as crates. Fill them with beads, berries, seeds, spices, buttons, cakes, or tiny shells, treasures. Each stall tells a story. One might sell glowing mushrooms crafted from bottle caps. Another displays crystal pendants made from broken jewelry. Maybe there's a tea corner with a bark tray holding thimble cups. Don't forget signs, handwritten on bits of paper or carved into bark. Wishes for trade, petal pastries, moonlight moss, 1 pebble per bundle. Lay out a tiny path in front, pebbles, beads, or flattened moss. Add benches made of twigs, a tiny broom by a doorway, a lantern made from a bead and wire. These details make the market feel alive, and not just pretty, lived in. Place your fairy bazaar in a shaded spot where leaves gently fall. Let sunlight filter through. You'll find yourself returning to it again and again, adjusting a stall, adding a new trinket, watching how the morning light touches it differently each day. This kind of crafting becomes a rhythm, low, observant, joyful, and just maybe when dusk settles and you pass by your little market, you'll imagine tiny footfalls fading away, and hear, somewhere in the breeze, the rustle of fairy coins and laughter. Because in your garden, the fairy world isn't just imagined, it's open for business. What do fairies send each other? Notes, wishes, little dreams. Maybe a petal folded with love, or a promise scribbled on a seed. The fairy mailbox is more than a cute detail. It's an invitation, a reminder that even the smallest worlds have connections, that someone somewhere is always waiting for a word. Start with a cork, a bottle cap, or a small cardboard tube. Glue a flap on top, perhaps cut from an old plastic lid or scrap fabric. Add a slit for the mail and perch it on a twig or tuck it near a fairy home. Paint it bright red or deep green, or leave it covered in bark for a forest look. Label it Fairy Post if you wish. Beside it, you might plant a message tree, a twig stuck in moss, strung with tiny notes clipped by thread. The paper can come from recycled receipts or wrappers, the clips from twisted wire or bead loops. Some people leave a tiny notebook beside the mailbox so visitors can leave messages. Children, friends, or even you with a quiet thought. Place it near a gathering space, a table, a lantern, or a bench. It becomes the heart of the garden, place of exchange, of whispers, and the magic. It's in the waiting. You walk past one morning and someone's tucked in a pebbled gift, or a note that says, hello. It turns your fairy world into something shared, alive, and loved. Mailboxes hold more than letters. They hold imagination. And sometimes, that's the most precious delivery of all. And so, we come to the end of our quiet journey. 15 little windows into a world not far from ours, where moss becomes a carpet, twigs grow into ladders, and bottle caps carry the dreams of fairies. Perhaps your fingers are already itching to begin, to gather, to glue, to gently shape something small and meaningful. A house from cardboard, path from broken tiles, a village born from yesterday's forgotten things. In this garden of imagination, nothing is wasted. Not the cracked teacup, not the old cork, not even the stillness of your afternoon. Everything has purpose. Everything can become beautiful again. Here at Verdo Studio, we believe in quiet joy, in the magic of slow crafting, in the way a handmade object, no matter how small, can light up a child's eyes, soften a grown heart, or whisper peace into a noisy world. If this space has brought you comfort, if the stories and ideas have warmed your thoughts like sunlight on soft moss, we invite you gently to subscribe, not for noise, not for trends, but for more little doors that open to wonder, more projects that make you pause, more ways to turn the ordinary into something timeless. So take your time, save this video, share it with a kindred spirit, and return whenever you need a pocket of stillness and creativity. We'll be here, waiting among the leaves.